So we're going to move from Germany, and our next guest is, and I just remembered, Yashodhara, I did forget to thank somebody. I forgot to thank Navalatka, who's helped very much bring us a number of devotees to speak in on these programs. So thank you, Didi. It's much appreciated. Navalatka from Bolivia has arranged for Sriman Ranga Puri from Florida to share his Pushpanjali. He met the devotees in 1979 and joined ISKCON in 1980. And then got the association of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in 1993. And very exciting for me because I absolutely adore this Vaishnava. He took initiation from Bhaktivedanta Puri, Bhakti Vinod Puri, Bhakti Pramod Puri, Gosvami Maharaj. I remember when I first saw a picture of this amazing guru with my Gurudev, just in that one picture, I felt that I was allowed some kind of access to the sweetness of the relationship between them. And that made me really desire some kind of association, even though he's not on the planet anymore. So I'm very excited that we have a disciple of his offering Pushpanjali today. So with a very warm welcome, Sriman Ranga Puri Prabhu, please offer your Pushpanjali. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad Pranams to all. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be amongst all these swans. So, Agyan Tirandasya Gyananjana Shilaka Chakshamitam Yana Tasmai Shibro Namaha Sujaitanamana Bushtam Satam Yana Tasam Rupakaram Yandati Sapram Bandham Shibro Shibutapadakam Shibrum Vaishnamata Shirupam Sagrigatan Sahalanaramatam Pitantam Sajna Sadvaitam Savadatam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Sahanalaita Siddhikampitam Sahe Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandharapati Gopesh Gopikakanta Radha Kantana Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Shri Vrishabhan Sutadevi Pranaman Na Parada Laksha Kshiptascha Kamadi Taram Kamadi Kripamaitam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Panchakalpatarvascha Kripa Sindhudeva Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanam Shri Advaita Shri Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Jai. Well, of course I'm not worthy of your association. Nevertheless, I thank you so much for allowing me to be in this so privileged circle. Maybe we need a little background because Bolivia is a country in the other part of the world. Maybe some people think this is Africa or whatever. We're in South America. And the Hare Krishna movement actually was present here in 1976 through Prahlad Prabhu, the only Prabhupada disciple from Bolivia. But I met the devotees in 1979. Well, in a very fortunate opportunity, being vegetarian, I was a Buddhist, atheist, and all the anarthas together. But I came to meet the devotees and enter this wonderful world. So I joined ISKCON in 1980, next year. And there was an old style ISKCON, maybe some of you have experienced, was like an army. Of course, beautiful, very nice. There was strong discipline, and when we were requested to surrender, our understanding of surrender was full surrender. What that mean is that coming to join the temple meant that you rent a truck, you put all your belongings in the truck. I had a very young son, 2 years old son. Maybe you know him, Hare Krishna Das. He lives in Brindavan now. So this was our understanding of surrendering. We were not going through the verses, the right philosophical understanding, but okay, we surrender. Everything means everything. Bringing all your belongings, in this case, my son also. So that was joining the Hare Krishna movement then. And well, actually, from the very beginning, I have to make it clear, I'm not actually a devotee, but we were trained as aspiring servants of the devotees, kind of doorkeepers, bringing people in, inviting prasad, performing some kind of kirtan, uh, giving class and things like that in a very elementary way. So my opportunity came in 1982 when I went to Vrindavan to the Samadhi Mandir inauguration of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our Prabhupada. And I intended to visit Shivakti Rakshakshidharadev Maharaj because at that time in the BBT, I was doing some little service. We used to present him our translations, although he didn't speak Spanish, of course. But we felt we needed that kind of blessing. So we used to send him our works, even our magazines, for him to approve. But to my surprise, when I arrived in India, uh, the GBC changed the rules. So at that time, they decided to break apart from him, and suddenly we were not allowed to see him. So it was a very shocking experience. And then, anyway, but we had just to follow and obey. So it took me like 11 more years to rebel myself against the institutional rules. And in 1993, I decided to meet actually the Vaishnava sadhus and like break apart from the mainstream ISKCON. And yeah, one of those fortunate days, I met Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj in Vrindavan, in Brindakund. And actually, he was such a brilliant and wonderful Vaishnava. So we had a little parikram in Vrindavan. I was just following behind. As years passed by, then I took shelter on my dear Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. And one of my ambitions was to talk with Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj. And I went to ask him questions because I knew he was very expert in every Vaishnava field. So I made a little project, was to translate the Ramayana into Spanish language. So I got the blessings of my Gurudev And I went to see him in Vrindavan. My son, he was serving him very closely. Well, actually, there is a little pastime there because although my son joined when he was 2 years old, and he met all the initiating devotees in ISKCON, he actually was never able to surrender. So I was thinking, oh, he's around 20 years old and he doesn't take initiation. What can I do? So I thought, oh, you have to meet my Gurudev. So go to meet Shri Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj in India. Uh, but I didn't have enough money to send him up to India. So I sent him to the US. And well, his saying is no news, good news. So he didn't write to me. I didn't know much about his whereabouts. But I got a letter, I think 1 month after. A letter, of course, I recognized his handwriting. And he was signing Hare Krishna Das. So my son already changed his name. He found his guru in Miami. And then he went to Badger Festival in California. So he surrendered himself so quickly, so easily. You know, when after 18 years, I wasn't able to have him surrender to any devotee. But then when he met Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayana Maharaj was like a magical thing. Finally, he found his way, his guru, and he told me he was going to live with him in Mathura. Then Kesavji Gaudiya. So that was for me like a clear indication that uh, Srila Narayana Maharaj was like a magician. He was able to melt the hearts of devotees, to attract people into some beautiful realm. And I also remember because when I visited his devotees and the Sangha, everything was very nice. You know, the kirtans, the Harikatha was something very sweet. Uh, so it was very nice. Then I started thinking that we have to bring this world to Bolivia. You know, we have to give the people in Bolivia the chance to get in touch with this wonderful world. Uh, Also, uh, the magic goes in many ways. I think that the Krishna Bhaktas in the West, of course, were blessed by Srila Prabhupada in an unbelievable way. But we have been blessed by these sadhus in such a way. For example, Prabhupada was about 11 years in the West. Then devotees that were fortunate took shelter on Shri Bhakti Rakshak, Gurudeva Goswami Maharaj. And more or less his influence was another 11 years. And then came the time uh, of getting association with Shri Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. He was also for 11 years like giving advice to the devotees. And then finally, the 11 years of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj. And what was transpiring is that ISKCON times, the understanding was very basic but very strong. Then the Vaishnava Siddhanta came more clear with Sri Bhakti Rakshak Deva Goswami Maharaj. He was so brilliant, so perfect to explain the things. And then came the humbleness and sweetness of Sri Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. You know, the Shuddhanam Tattva, you know, how to surrender to the holy name, avoiding Vaishnava Parad. And yeah, the final, I would say, refinement of this understanding, I think, was given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayana Maharaj. That was a real Bhakti Rasayan. He was bringing, a glimpse into the Raganuga Bhakti. Before, even when we ask our Gurudev or we requested Srila Bhakti Rakshak to talk these topics, he said, oh, put these topics in, you know, after many other things that have to come before. So they were using Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying, first deserve, then desire. So we were being like hold until we were like more or less prepared to get some further mercy. But then the day came, that we were able then to listen to this very sweet Harikatha, this Raganuga Bhakti taste given actually very freely to the devotees. And we started to invite also the sadhus associated with him. Um, Maybe I got the best from Shri Prem Prayojan Prabhu, that was very kind with me. I was even able to share a room with him, and he was actually kind of translating to me all this wonderful world, because he's so intelligent, and his mind is so clear that I was able to, I would say, be introduced into this world somehow or other. And then, since then, I would say that most of the devotees in Bolivia became either disciples of Sri Bhaktivinoda Narayana Maharaj or disciples of his disciples. And well, what else to say? It's like he brought so much sweetness to our practice, to our understanding, uh, so much fresh um, meanings to the things. Of course, I don't even deserve to pronounce his name, but what I can say is that even though I'm not even a Bhakta, but uh, this input of his grace has put this country that's big in size but very unknown into the Vaishnava world. We go to Vrindavan now. My son has again come back to live in India. He's living in Radhakunj. We have another, actually, god sister, Madhavi. Madhavi is living in India also so long, usually, you know, taking care of Uma Didi or uh, Bon Maharaj when he's there, Sripad Bodhaya Maharaj. Very sweet. Now we have Manjulali also in Vrindavan. So all these devotees are being blessed. And of course we have Navalatika. She was here recently. Maybe she's still in the Zoom. So all these devotees, Hari Ras, Lila Madhuri, uh, I think that Hari Ras mentioned that sometimes there are so many devotees coming from Bolivia to the Dham. It was unbelievable for me, in good old times. It was very hard if somebody, arrived in India once every 3, 4, or 10 years. But then all this flood of mercy started coming here, and the only thing I can say to all is thank you so much for giving shelter to these devotees coming from South America, opening your hearts to their association, and you know, having this sweet Nitai Goranga pastime of Sankirtan being spread all over the world in such, you know, sweet and wonderful manner. So I just feel immense gratefulness for all of you. I offer my prostrated dandavat. Thank you, Yashodanandan Prabhu, also for arranging this. So please accept me as your servant, all of you, and hope someday I'll be able to do something at your lotus feet. Thank you. Dandavat. Haribol.
Well, thank you, Prabhu, and thank you so much to Navalatika, who, whenever we engage in serving with her, is a total delight to serve with, and it's wonderful to have her enthusiasm injected into many of these Savor initiatives. I loved what you said, Prabhu. Thank you for a beautiful Pushpanjali. A bit like Madhuvrad, actually, you also have this very sort of mellifluous and meditative way of sharing your Pushpanjali. So I think by the time this program ends, I think I'm going to be almost floating 1 foot off the floor. It's very beautiful. I loved your. I'd never heard anyone talk about that 11-year cycle. I never thought of it that way. It's almost like evolution by revelation. All the tattva, all the rasa is already there, but our parampara, Krishna and Radha and Mahaprabhu and Nityananda are beautifully arranging for it to be revealed at the right time, so that so we don't get heart indigestion. Everything is built one floor at a time, which is very beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I just wondered, if do you have anything? We're short on time, but I'd love to hear anything you have about any interaction you saw or heard about between Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj and my Srila Gurudev.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Just something would be lovely. Little some little injection of that relationship would be wonderful.
Oh, yes, sure. Uh, Actually, once um, he was offering some service to my Gurudev in the river, in the Ganga River. And he was holding his lota and his gamsha, but somehow, you know, the lota slipped away from the hands of Srila Bhaktivinoda Narayana Maharaj, and then the lota was lost. So in a sweet, angry mood, you know, my Gurudev said, "Oh, you're only good for writing books." So, like, of course, he respected so much his so deep knowledge of the things, and he was very uh, kind. You know, there are some sweet photographs of them together. But also, I have to recall that Srila Narayana Maharaj uh, used to tease me. You know, he liked to tease me a lot. I remember when I came back from Jagannath Puri, where I met my Gurudev, talking about the Ramayana, and he told me, "Go visit Srila Bhaktivinoda Vedanta Narayana Maharaj. He's, you know, such a pandit on the subject." So I went to visit him in Vrindavan, and he used to tease me so much. So I told, "Well, you know, I am translating Ramayana," and said, "Why Ramayana? You should do Bhagavatam." So, well, I was so surprised. But years later, when I met him in Brazil, he used to remember so clearly our last dialogue that he started telling me, you know, a lot of pastimes and things as if nothing happened. Also, when I met him in Badger, because at that time I was doing service as a diplomat, and I wanted to offer him some service. I said, "Oh, no, no, no! You're so high already. Your Gurudev is so high. So what can I tell you?" So somehow I was telling also some devotees. Somehow I felt like rejected, but in a loving way, because he liked to play also. He looked so serious, but sometimes he was in a playful mood, like a child, and it was something surprising because when I went to visit these sadhus, I revered them so much, but then he came like so playful suddenly. Also, I asked some question in Vrindavan about Raganuga Bhakti, and then he said, "Oh, you have to read Raga Varma Chandrika, so read that, and you'll know." So suddenly, he changed his mood, and of course, I appreciate now very deeply because I was like being blessed, taking part on this change of mood and in this playful mood as well. Yeah, but yes, of course, my Sukriti didn't allow me to follow him so closely. So, but my son was fortunate. So I'm happy that the devotees in Bolivia, my son himself, took so much advantage of his association and were able to, catch so much of his magic. So now we have a wonderful congregation of devotees that took all this nectar in their lives.
Thank you, Prabhu. Actually, Gurudev said something about, I'm paraphrasing here, but he felt that a day wasn't complete unless he at least laughed and cried once every day.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you. If you have anyone else if you can help Navalatika to bring more and more rose petal of Bolivian devotees to us for this program, we'd be very grateful.